Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Alright guys, it's Thursday, June 18th. Had to think about it for a minute. June 18th, and it's 10:48 p.m. I'm having to restart this because I played something and it had a song in it that was copyrighted, and if I uploaded that, I would get a copyright strike, which I'd like to avoid. So I'm starting this again. All right, so let's go. What we're going to be doing tonight is I'm doing the news first. I do have a Q video prepared as well, but I'm not sure if I'm going to get to it. And the reason is I'm getting a late start. I've had a lot of pain with my back today. I've been sitting on ice, and I still am. So yeah, I want to get to the news. And also Q has been posting today. So if I don't get to the second video, I am definitely going to be bringing you yesterday's post and today's post from Q tomorrow. And I will attempt to do that very early because this is getting ridiculous. It seems to be getting later and later for me. And I know that it's got to be hard on a lot of you because, you know, some of you stay up and others just kind of get it the next day. But I need to start pushing it back and getting to this earlier. I do have some people to thank here, but I'm going to do that at the end if that is all right with everyone. And we're just going to roll with the news. All right, well, let's get to it. This from, well, Candace Owen says, George Floyd, high on fentanyl and trying to use a counterfeit bill after 9 prison stints. Rayshard Brooks, drunk driving while on probation for beating his wife and kids. Why don't you cowards stop pretending these people were changing their lives? Stop sanctifying criminals. And Kevin Shipp says, Candace nails it again, heroic woman. Well, she is a heroic woman, a very heroic woman, because, of course, there are many people that don't believe that, well, there's a lot of blacks that don't believe that you can be black and conservative. And so she is actually, you know, she stands very, very firmly for what she believes, and she is an excellent communicator. So she has an effect, and, you know, she's been called all sorts of things. You know, even though the Democrats is the most racist party that ever was. Yeah. So, and you know, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it out that these people were just wonderful people, and you know what? I'm not saying that he deserved to die. If he died, you know, I'm just not sure of the whole scenario there. But, you know, and in terms of Rayshard Brooks, they're saying, can't a guy just sleep in his car at a Wendy's? Like, what's the problem? It got him killed. Like, as if he was just, you know, just pulled over and sleeping and just trying to, yeah, he wasn't. He was drunk and he was blocking the drive-through line. It was the second time he had fallen asleep there, and it was because he was drunk and he was on probation, and he did fire upon the officer with the stun gun. So, you know, and it's interesting that now they're saying, well, you know, we've got to charge him because a stun gun isn't a deadly weapon. And yet, under Georgia law, yes, it is. So, yeah, just not fair at all. This is all about whipping people into a frenzy and getting them upset. And that's why they say things like, oh, can't a guy just sleep peacefully in his car at a Wendy's? He wasn't doing anything wrong. Yes, he was. He was drunk. He was asleep, blocking traffic. So, yeah. And, you know, people say, well, you know, that didn't need to happen. Well, no, it didn't. But he was resisting arrest big time. And it was quite evident that he was going to do whatever he needed to do to avoid getting arrested, because I'm sure he didn't want to have to go back to jail. So, which unfortunately he doesn't have to worry about now. But anyway, let's move on. All right, so this is, we're going out to Jack Prosobiec, and I like this. Says Portland's Antifa attempt at an autonomous zone has ended as police descend upon them and clear the area. Now, this is good because this is what should have happened in Seattle, and I think we'd all agree with that. And why didn't it? Well, I guess because the police here are proactive instead of running away and giving over their precinct. Yeah, nothing got burned here. They weren't able to take over the area, and you need to thank the police for that because they're the ones tearing down the barrier and, putting themselves in danger as they do every day. So let's go on now. And let's look at this. I'm not going to, read this whole thing, but an Oklahoma judge has denied a request that would have forced cancellation of Trump's Tulsa rally. So good for that judge. Good for that judge. Now, this is hot and fresh. It was posted today. And what the whole thing is, this lawyer, who is actually the same lawyer that one of the lawyers that represented Stormy Daniels, so you can tell what kind of lawyer this is, but it says, in what must have been the quickest narrative shift in media history, the news coverage quickly shifted from how anybody who dared leave their home or desired a haircut was a grandma killer to how everyone not out posting in large crowds for Black Lives Matter was on the wrong side of history. Prior to the protests, coronavirus dominated an incredible 88% of media coverage, but that fell down to 18% as protests raged on nationwide for 2 weeks, and prior concerns about social distancing magically disappeared, but it's back now. Why? Because Trump wants to have a rally. So, oh my God, no, you're going to kill everybody. Yet now that the mass protests have mostly subsided and it's President Donald Trump who is going to hold a large gathering, the media has shifted back to the old narrative, and we assume things will stay that way until they can justify risking infection in favor of a cause they support. So this guy, Clark Brewster, brought forth a lawsuit, and he filed it, Tuesday. He filed it Tuesday to force the Bach Center, where the rally is going to be held, to use coronavirus safety measures that would have forced the rally to be canceled. Not at all coincidentally, it was the same guy that represented Stormy Daniels in her lawsuit against Trump. Well, that didn't work out too well either. And just like Stormy's lawsuits, this one has about as much success, according to the Daily Wire. So this Oklahoma judge denied the request and said that the rally could go on. They are giving out hand sanitizer. They're going to be giving masks and checking everyone's temperature as they come in. And you know what? They are there of their own volition. Nobody's put a gun to their head forcing them there. And so they are taking the risks. They are willing to take the risks. And, I don't know how anybody can say anything about this after looking at these protests with literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people crushing each other, not even room to, shoulder through the crowd hardly. So I don't know how they can, I do know how, because they're hypocritical, and it's not about, they don't care about anybody's health or anything else. That's not what this is about, because if they did, people would have been alarmed. All these people like Fauci and all these people would have been alarmed and on TV and saying, I understand that you're upset and people want to peacefully protest, but there's a virus and all. No, none of that. There was none of that. In fact, they even put out stuff saying, stay at home. You're still supposed to be quarantining, so stay at home unless you're protesting. And then Como, has locked up the playgrounds and everything. It's summertime. But the protests, that's perfectly fine. But don't let your child play in a playground. My gosh, you'll kill everybody. Really. I don't know what would happen if you let your child play in the playground. My gosh. Well, that'd be it for your grandma. She'd be dead. Anyway, let's go back. And, oh, by the way, whoever made that suggestion in the comments yesterday about using a cooling rack, like a cookie cooling rack, for my computer, you're brilliant, because that's what I'm doing, and it allows the circulation under the computer, and it's cheap. I mean, it's a cookie cooler. I don't know what you call them, cooling rack, you know. And it works perfectly. So thank you, whoever you are. Can't remember who it was now, but it was a very, very useful suggestion. All right. Let's go back. No, let's. Now, I was going to play this, and if you are on Twitter, please go to Trump's Twitter page and look at his tweets, because the one about the two babies, it's hysterical. It's really hysterical, but unfortunately, this is why I had to start re-record, because I can't play that because I'll get a copyright strike. But it is so funny because it shows a white baby running after like a black baby. I mean, they're just toddlers, and it says racist baby chases black baby or something like that, and then it says probably a Trump supporter, and then it says what really happened, and it shows the two coming together and hugging. They see each other, they must know each other because they see each other and they run towards each other. One's black, one's white, and they hug each other, and then they're playing, and the black baby is running faster ahead of the white, and the white's running after. But it was creatively edited, and what it's saying is, you know, CNN, this is the type of thing that they do. I mean, you'd have to see it. It's priceless, and it's hysterical, and I love Trump. Have I said that? I love Trump. All right. All right, let's go on. All right, and this from the Red Pill News Dispenser. What do these states have in common? Increase in CV, attempt to legitimize mail-in voting. What do victims have in common? Years, decades of Social Security, generation, boomer, granny, targets, dependence or independence, assisted living or assist cost of care equals truth. I don't know what, that's kind of a little bit vague, but this is from, let me see, who is this from? Who is this from? I don't know. Anyway, it says it's to Andrew Cuomo, and it says the ongoing CV pandemic has disproportionately affected the elderly, especially those living in nursing homes and other long-term care facilities. We write seeking information. Nursing homes and long-term care facilities admit untested and contagious CV patients from hospitals. This decision contribute to the thousands of elderly deaths in New York State. Thank you for your attention and prompt response to this important inquiry. On March 13th, 2020, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, issued guidance for infected control and prevention of CV disease 2019. In nursing homes, this guidance is a blueprint for individual states to follow when determining how to best control outbreaks of COVID-19 in nursing homes and long-term care facilities. This guidance does not direct any nursing home to accept a COVID-19 positive patient if they are unable to do so safely. In fact, it says nursing homes should admit any individual that they would normally admit to their facility, including individuals from hospitals where a case of COVID-19 was present, only if the nursing home can follow Centers for Disease Control quarantining guidance. CMS Administrator Seema Verma said, under no circumstance should a hospital discharge a patient to a nursing home that is not prepared to take care of those patients' needs. CMS did not mandate COVID-19 positive patients back to nursing homes, but instead stated that a COVID-19 case at a hospital does not preclude the nursing home from accepting a COVID-19 negative patient. So Yeah, it's being clarified what was said, and they are inquiring, as you know, to Andrew Cuomo, why this advice was not heeded, because it resulted in the death of many, many, many elderly unnecessarily. And they're somebody's mother, they're somebody's father, you know, brother, sister. Their lives matter. But, and it says on March 25th, 2020, the New York Department of Health issued on their website a now deleted directive on hospital discharges and admissions to nursing homes. This directive said no resident shall be denied readmission or admission to the nursing home solely based on a confirmed or suspected diagnosis. And nursing homes are prohibited from requiring hospitalized residents who are determined medical stable to be tested for COVID-19 prior to admission. According to the most recent available data, New York has suffered 6,360 nursing home deaths. That's outrageous. 6,360 nursing home deaths related to COVID-19. This is more than 25% of the state's total CV deaths and more than 4% of the state's entire nursing home population. Wow. So more than 4% of the state's nursing home population died because of Cuomo. To help us better understand what science or guidance you use to make this lethal decision, we respectfully request the following documents and information: all state-issued guidance, directives, advisories, and I'm not going to read all this, but the total number of COVID-19 related nursing home deaths, the total number of COVID-19 related nursing home positive cases, total number of confirmed or suspected, blah, blah, blah. All information, documents, and communication between the New York State Department of Health and any and all state nursing home administrators. So I'm glad that this is not being dropped and it is being investigated, because it needs to be. And, you know, personally, and I know this sounds histrionic, but I believe that Cuomo needs to be charged with murder. He murdered those people. He did. I mean, it doesn't take, a lot of brain power to think that, gee, this is the most vulnerable population. They're elderly. They're not out and about much. They're inside. They're cooped up. And let's just bring somebody that's positive for CV into an environment that isn't a quarantine environment. It gets into the ventilation and everything. It's everywhere, and it goes through the nursing home just like the flu would, except it's with deadly consequences. I think it's beyond me. I try to understand what would go through somebody's head that would make a decision like that, and there's no innocent explanation. None. I can't think of any. All right, well, let's go back and let's look at this. Now, this is from yesterday. Atlanta police shortages. Oh, no, it was updated today. So it's hot and fresh. Atlanta police shortages continue for second day. And gee, why is that? Because they all walked off the job. That's why. And I don't blame them. The morning after an unusual number of police officers called out sick, only 2 sergeants and 1 officer showed up in one of Atlanta's 6 police zones, according to police officers who don't want to be named. The shortages came in the wake of the Fulton County District Attorney bringing charges against 2 officers who were involved in the deadly shooting of Rayshard Brooks. On Wednesday, multiple sources within the Atlanta Police Department told CNN that officers were not responding to calls in 3 of the department's 6 zones. Though the department denied that was the case, a police union director backed CNN sources' account and said that in some instances, officers were refusing to leave their precincts unless a fellow police officer required backup. The police department said in an unusual number of officers working the late shift had called out sick. The mayor said the city would be okay. Well, yeah, right. There's a lot happening in our cities, and our police officers are receiving the brunt of it. Quite frankly, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms said the city has shown its commitment to the officers through a pay raise, and we expect that our officers will keep their commitment to our community, she said. Why should they? Why should they? They're being treated like dogs, worse than dogs. They're having feces and urine thrown at them. Feces and urine. This is like quite common. They're having bottles and bricks thrown at them. They're even being shot at. They're being called despicable names. They're being mistreated. They're being slapped and punched and kicked. And nobody seems to be backing them up. Least of all, the mayor. Okay, so you give them a raise. Big deal. A raise is no good if you're dead or maimed. I feel very, very sorry for these officers. However, she thinks morale is down tenfold, she said. We do not have enough officers to cover us through the night, she said. Our streets won't be any less safe because of the number of officers who called out. Well, she's full of crap. And I'll tell you, how can she say that? You know, that they need their officers and whatever, but then she's saying, oh, well, our streets won't be any less safe just because there's nobody patrolling them. Well, gee, I wonder why their morale is down. Can't imagine. Can't imagine why their morale would be down. You tell somebody, well, your job is to go out and patrol the streets, and then the mayor says, well, yeah, they all called out sick, but we won't be any less safe. Well, then what are they working for? Why you really have to question why the morale is down? Idiot. And it says, our streets won't be any less safe because of the number of officers who called out, but it is just my hope again that our officers will remember the commitment that they made when they held up their hand and they were sworn in as police officers. Well, why don't you uphold your commitment to them? The mayor didn't say how many officers had called out. In his statement, the Atlanta Police Department said reports that multiple officers from each zone had walked off the job were inaccurate. That's a lie. That's a lie because it's everywhere. And that has been confirmed by multiple sources. So they're lying. In a statement, the Atlanta Police Department said reports, were inaccurate. This from Atlanta Police Department. Here's the tweet. Earlier suggestions that multiple officers from each zone had walked off the job were inaccurate. The department is experiencing a higher than usual number of call-outs with the incoming shift. We have enough resources to maintain operations and remain able to respond to incidents. Sure you do. Because there were reports that 911 calls were just going and going and going and going. And the officer said, we will not respond to anything unless it's an officer down. Because their morale is low, and quite frankly, if I had a job where I was getting urine and feces thrown at me, and the police officers are saying, I have to go home at night and get my uniform clean, and that's not easy to get out, the smell of urine and feces, and not to mention how unsanitary and dangerous that is. You could catch anything. Can't imagine why their morale is down. Says the department experiencing, some officers were staying past their shift to make up the difference, Bottoms said, and the city can call on partners in other departments across the metropolitan area if needed. Well, my understanding was that there were several zones that nearly everyone had not shown up. And they're just fed up. I think it's a little bit more than just being fed up. Vince Champion, the Southeast Regional Director of the International Brother of Police Officers, presented a different account. He received calls through the night saying officers were calling out and walking off their shifts. Some were just refusing to leave the precincts unless an officer needed help. So it was different So it was different things, Champion said. While he didn't have hard numbers, he had heard officers are planning to call out on Thursday, he said. They're just fed up. I mean, their mayor has come out and said everything they used to do with the use of force is not valid. Don't do it. So I don't know how we defend ourselves when people want to fight us, he said. The call-outs are not organized, he said, and he wouldn't consider them a strike. The union had no knowledge of the officers' actions beforehand, he said. The staffing at Zone 6 was so sparse that when the department heard that several protesters were planning to take over the precinct, the remaining staff removed critical equipment from the building and relocated to another zone, according to Atlanta police officers who didn't want to be named. There was severe staffing shortages in Zone 1 overnight, the officer said. Atlanta police officers each patrol one of 6 zones, covering some 500,000 residents who live in the city limits. They also cover Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. Fulton County District Attorney Paul Howard announced Wednesday 11 charges against Garrett Rolfe, who was fired after he shot Rayshard Brooks twice in the back Friday night. Third shot hit a car with 3 people inside. The 11 charges Rolfe faces are felony murder, 5 counts of aggravated assault, 4 counts of violating his oath of office, and 1 count of criminal damage to property. Devin Brosnan, the other officer at the shooting, faces an aggravated assault charge for allegedly standing on Brooks in the parking lot. He also faces 2 counts of violating his oath of office. Rolfe was a member of the Special Traffic Enforcement Unit, which Brosnan requested come to the scene when he suspected Brooks might be intoxicated. Attorneys for both officers have said they are not guilty. And the one that actually shot is potentially facing the death penalty. The death penalty. The Atlanta Police Foundation is giving every police officer a $500 bonus as a way of saying thanks. Woohoo! Don't spend it all in one place, boys. Oh, and girls. Okay, I know you're probably saying, well, gee, I'd take $500. Well, so would I. But the thing is, you think that compensates for what they're having to deal with? $500? Are you kidding me? I mean, I wouldn't stand there and have feces and urine thrown at me for $500 or any amount of money. I mean, just the possible diseases alone. No, thank you. When asked about the bonus, one Atlanta police officer told CNN, "I'll believe it when I see it. This is the first time anything like this has been done, and the foundation are good people as well, but it's for APD only, and it's definitely about morale," the officer said. Well, yeah, I can fully understand why they are lacking in morale. And if I had a mayor like that, my morale would be down too. I'm sure yours would be as well. All right. Well, now for something completely different. You can't make this stuff up. It has nothing to do with politics, by the way. All right, you heard it here. Alcoholic killer monkey leaves 1 man dead and 250 injured after going on a rampage when his booze supply dried up. Bet you haven't heard a news title like that before. Yes, an alcoholic killer monkey. Probably was being stung by murder hornets. Maybe that's what made him mad. Or maybe it was just the alcohol. Who knows? Anyway, the monkey was formerly the pet of an occultist. Well, there you go. That's the problem. Who fed him hard liquor in India. But when his owner died, the booze-dependent imp went on the rampage. Named Kalua, he targeted women and girls in particular with his vicious fangs. He has now been captured and will spend the rest of his days in a cage at the zoo. Well, that's just sad, really. An alcoholic killer monkey has left 1 man dead. That's not funny. I'm not laughing that the man died, but an alcoholic killer monkey. Yeah. Has left 1 man dead and 250 injured after going on a rampage when his booze supply dried up in India. The inebriated imp, known as Koala, Kalua, rather, was formerly the pet of an occultist who fed him hard liquor at his home in Mirzapur, Uttar Pradesh. But after his owner died, the bereft animal stopped getting his supply of spirits and began prowling the streets in a furious rage. The simian targeted women and girls in particular, with dozens of children left needing plastic surgery after he ripped open their faces with his fangs. Wow. I'm surprised they let him live. The animal has since been caught and will now be kept in captivity for the rest of his life. You know, really, probably would have been more merciful to euthanize him, really. One of Kalua's 250 biting victims died, Ian's reported. The 6-year-old monkey was eventually captured and hauled into Kanpur Zoo, where zoologists discovered that he was not only an alcoholic, but that he refused to eat vegetables. The scientist believes the occultist must have also fed the monkey meat, another possible cause for his indefatigable anger. He also noted that the monkey had a propensity for attacking female zookeepers and would also attack other monkeys if put in the same cage. He needs to be euthanized. He really does. I think that is the most merciful thing, and it would prevent him from harming anybody else. It was also noted, it has therefore been decided that Kalua will remain locked in a cage at the zoo for the rest of his days. It is the latest in a litany of shocking stories about monkeys to emerge from the subcontinent. Monkeys, who knew? Among the charges leveled at the marauding species, robbery, kidnapping, and murder. Those dang monkeys. I'm glad we don't have to worry about that. We've got enough with the murder hornets and, well, you know. Pelosi, those guys. I mean, they're just as bad as a monkey. They're worse. All right, so Kanpur Zoological Park, zoologists discovered that the monkey was not only an alcoholic, but a meat eater. My gosh, a meat-eating alcoholic monkey, killer monkey. A meat-eating meat-eating alcoholic killer monkey. That's what we have on our hands. That's right. You heard it here. At the end of the month, an Indian health worker was mobbed by a pack of primates who stole coronavirus blood samples. Right. Sure. Sparking fears they would spread the disease. After making off with the 3 samples in Meerut, near New Delhi, the monkeys scampered up nearby trees, and one then tried to chew its plunder. The sample boxes were later discovered and had not been damaged. Meerut Medical College Superintendent Teraj Raj told AFP on Friday after footage of the encounter went viral on social media. The monkey scourge is a global one and is perhaps the most viral example to date. Footage from Indonesia shows a motorcade riding monkey kidnapping a toddler. I don't even know how to comment on this. I don't. The video, though, thought to have been filmed in some village in Indonesia, showed the animal speeding along a narrow street on a bike. As it reached a bench where a woman and her 3 young daughters were sitting, the monkey grabbed at one of the girl's dresses and pulled her from the bench. The situation turned more sinister as the monkey continued to pull the girl along the road. Eventually, another man ran into the shot and scared the monkey away from the toddler. She ran crying back to her mother. Well, I bet she did. So, yeah, you watch out for drunk monkeys. How many times have I told you people? Watch out for drunk monkeys, especially meat-eating drunk monkeys. They're the worst. Seriously. If you find a meat-eating alcoholic monkey, stay away. And don't feed it any more booze. You're just going to make it mad. All right. Well, let's go back now. I don't know how I top that, but I'll try. Okay. And this from Julian's Rum. And he is responding to Deanna Lorraine, who said, people are already lining up for Trump's rally on Saturday and apparently have been lining up since Sunday, a week in advance. People have been lining up since Sunday. And and then she says, and Biden thinks he's going to win. Do you think anyone would do that? Camp out for a week just to see Biden? Anyway, Julian Rum responds and says the mainstream media is already drafting stories about fictional people who died from COVID after attending the rally that they never attended. That is right. That's exactly what's going to happen. You mark my words. All of a sudden, you'll hear of this poor man who died from COVID after he attended Trump's rally, and this poor mother has left her children, motherless after dying needlessly after attending a Trump rally. It's going to be all over. They're going to come up with people from the woodwork, and then they're going to have crisis actors. Oh, I told her not to go. I told her not to go, but she had to go. I mean, you know it's coming. You know it is. And then, of course, you have the ads that are still happening, wanting people that have COVID to go to the rally to spread it. Yeah, that's how sick they are. All right. Now, well, let's look at this now, shall we? Well, sure, let's. It probably doesn't compare to the, meat-eating drunk monkeys, but I don't know. They need to put warnings. Don't let monkeys drink. Completely crazy. I can't pronounce that name, but, well, if I could, it would surprise you, wouldn't it? Denies Bolton's claims that Trump asked China for election help. Oh, they never give up. They never give up. Yeah, U.S. Trade Representative Robert I don't know. Let's call him Robert L. You know I can't pronounce that. But someday I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to get this really rough name, really, really hard name, and I'm going to pronounce it right and shock you all. It's coming. Anyway, Robert L. denied Wednesday. I've got a little bug crawling up my screen, which I'm sure you can't see, but I just squashed it. Absolutely okay, what am I doing here? Let me start over. Okay. Robert L. denied Wednesday that President Donald Trump asked Chinese President Xi Jinping in June 2019 for help in the upcoming presidential election, an allegation that former National Security Advisor John Bolton levels against his forthcoming memoir. It sounds like I've been drinking, but I haven't. And I'm telling you right now, I'd never drink with monkeys. I'm just saying, I have standards. Absolutely untrue. Never happened. I was there. I have no recollection of that ever happening. I don't believe it's true. I don't believe it ever happened. Robert L. Testified during a Senate Finance Committee hearing. New Jersey Senator Robert Menendez had asked Robert L., a well-known critic of the Chinese government, about an excerpt from Bolton's book in which he alleged that Trump asked Xi Jinping for election help during a meeting in Japan on the sidelines of the Group 20 summit in 2019. I don't believe that happened either, because it just doesn't sound true to life for Trump. It doesn't. Trump then stunningly turned the conversation to the coming U.S. presidential election, alluding to China's economic capability and pleading with Xi to ensure he'd win, Bolton wrote in an excerpt published by the Wall Street Journal. He stressed the importance of farmers and increased Chinese purchases of soybeans and wheat in the electoral outcome. I would print Trump's exact words, but the government's pre-publication review process has decided otherwise. Robert L. told Menendez that he was in the meeting in question and that Bolton's allegations were completely crazy. Yeah, well, Bolton himself. Cuckoo. Would I have recollected something as crazy as that? Of course I would, Robert L. said. Bolton makes numerous other bombshell allegations against Trump in his book, The Room Where It Happened. I wonder if there was any drunk monkeys in that room. Maybe. He accuses his former boss of appeasing foreign dictators such as Xi Jinping, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Bolton also claimed that Trump administration officials, including Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, were highly critical of the president during private conversations. The Trump Justice Department sued Bolton on Tuesday to delay the release of the memoir, which is set for release on June 23rd. So, yeah, those in the know, those that are there, saying completely fabricated, and I don't believe John Bolton. I just don't. I think that he's probably been carousing with drunk killer monkeys that eat meat. Hide your steaks. Okay, well, here we go. There's more. I know you're thinking, wow, really more? We get more? Yes! Always more. All right, let's look here. Yes, there's more. Okay, why isn't this breaking news? Yes, why isn't it? Well, let's look at this. Hillary Clinton, will be testifying in court September 9th, 2020. Make this go viral, and she will indeed be testifying in court. Or maybe her double, who knows? Somebody that looks sort of like Hillary will be testifying. Hillary Clinton was on trial yesterday for 600,000 emails involving child trafficking, molestation, and torture. Same day as the Blackout Tuesday, where we're told not to post or to go on social media. What a coincidence. The truth will not be censored. Please share. Happening now, Hillary Clinton lost her appeal and has now to testify in court for the private email account and server she used during her time as Secretary of State, the emails containing incriminating information that directly linked Hillary to a child sex trafficking cult. Yeah, she'll probably blame it on the monkeys. Why does nobody know that Hillary Clinton just lost her appeal in court over 600,000 emails about child molestation, torture, and trafficking, and has to testify this September? Oh yeah, because they're distracting us. That's right. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Distracting us with ridiculous stuff. And let's go on. Here we go. Pelosi to hold vote on making far-left Washington, D.C. a state. Right. Speaking of drunk monkeys. And this is from yesterday, so it's just slightly warm. But fairly fresh. You know, I wrapped it in saran. Okay. As Tucker Carlson once said, every action by the Democrat Party is meant to give the party more power. I believe that. Nancy Pelosi and House Democrats will vote in Congress to make the District of Columbia a state. This comes after a wave of looting and arson across the city. Democrats want to reward the District of Columbia. Of course, this would mean 2 new radical far-left senators in the U.S. Senate. Gee. Isn't that something? Yeah. You really think they care if Washington, D.C. is a state? No. They care about getting those 2 radical senators. Yeah. So, House Democrats announced Tuesday evening that they will hold a vote June 26 on making the District of Columbia the 51st state. Over 200 Democrats have signed on to the legislation amid nationwide protests that have consumed Washington, D.C. over the past few weeks, pitting the district's Democratic mayor, Muriel Bowser, against President Donald Trump over the best response. The response to protests in D.C. over the killing of George Floyd have led prominent Democrats to criticize the fact that the district has no voting representation in Congress and call for its residents to be granted the same representation as Americans who reside in the 50 states, the New York Times reported late Tuesday. Yes, and yeah, I'm sure it's just concern over the people, you know, because they're so concerned about the people. Always. Well, should we go on? Yes, yes, we should. All right. And let's look at this. I can't remember what this is about. All right. I don't know, but this is old. And we're not going to look at it because it's old. Not that I have anything against, old things. Unless they're drunk and they're a monkey. And they eat meat. And are a monkey that's drunk. Okay. Here we go. Let's look at this. When America decides to place a police officer on death row for trying to do his job, America has gone wrong. This by Katie Hopkins. Huge support for every police officer in Atlanta refusing to come on shift. Police are being sacrificed to the mob. She's absolutely correct. And I follow her because I think, well, I was following her. Look at that. They unfollowed me. I hate when they do that. But yeah, she's got a lot of good, makes a lot of good points. She's very awake. Very. All right, well, let's go back. And let's look at this. This says it's important. Let's see if I lied or not. I might have. Can't trust me. Okay. Oh, yes, this is so good. It is really, really good because, well, I'll read this and then I'll just let you see it for yourself. Watch, listen, learn. This is by Jellycat. People need to comply with the law. If you are approached by an officer, you should comply. Your life literally depends on it. Police invited activists protesting police shootings to use of force training, and they left with a new perspective. I really think that this is so cool because what they did is they took a protester that was protesting against the police shootings, and they invited this protester to use of force training that the police go through, and they left with a completely different perspective. And I think that this should be done more and more because I think it would change the public's perception totally. So let's listen to this. It is 2 minutes and 20 seconds long, and we're going to listen to it in its entirety. Let me make it bigger for you tiny phone people, always thinking about you. And let's listen.
What kind of car do you drive? What kind of car do you drive?
Now, this is acting. They're acting because they're doing use of force training, and so they make it seem real.
Moffin, the officer, is shot. It happens that fast.
At what time did you think that it was time for you to address the use of force that was given?
When he came to the back of the vehicle and was hiding, I could sense something was wrong.
Scenario 2, a call of 2 men fighting.
What's going on today, gentlemen?
So this is the guy. As far as I know, this guy right here, the black gentleman, is the one that's being, that was the protester that is trying to go through this training that the police go through. And you can see already he got himself shot. I mean, not really, but you know what I'm saying.
What do you want? What's happening here?
What's wrong with you? Huh?
What are you doing, man?
Hey, you shouldn't approach me. He shouldn't approach me. He shouldn't approach me. He shouldn't approach me.
In there.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You just shot him?
Hey, he rushed me.
Tell me why you shot.
Well, I've shot because he was within that zone. I felt there was an imminent threat. I didn't necessarily see him armed, but he came clearly to do some harm to the officer, to my person. It's hard to make that call. It shakes you up.
Again, an unarmed man was shot. Scenario 3, a call about a possible burglar walking down the street. Moppin gets him on the ground. He's not complying.
I need you to keep your hands up, sir.
For what?
Because I need to check that waistband.
For what? What are you doing?
Because I don't know what you have under there.
Everybody, look at this guy. What are you doing?
No shots fired, but the suspect did have a hidden knife in his waistband. I went through the scenarios too, without seeing what Moppin did. Come on, do you have keys or do you have anything to show me that?
Don't worry
No,
about
I need to talk to you. Come on out over here.
And that's how fast it happens.
There are a couple county sheriffs. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Both of you, get on the ground. Get on the ground.
For what?
Get back. Get back. Same results for both of us. Things happen very fast out here. I asked Maupin what his biggest takeaway from this exercise will be.
I didn't understand how important compliance was, but after going through this, yeah, my attitude has changed. This is all unfolding in 10 to 15 seconds. People need to comply with the orders of law enforcement officers for their own sake.
So I think this is so cool because this guy was out protesting the unlawful shooting, or and he was protesting police shootings. And after he goes through a little bit of training, he now understands. And the other guy that was reporting, he went through the same thing, and they both ended up, they would have shot an unarmed man. And it's just not so easy when it's you and your adrenaline's pumping, you're afraid, and a person's coming toward you or is resisting. I mean, you saw this guy, he was trying to handcuff him, but he had a gun to him, and that is not, that's not right either, So, yeah, it's just not when it happens to you and you're going through the training. Yeah, then you understand. And I think more people should experience something like that, because then they know what it's like to be in the shoes of an officer. So, what is that saying? You need to walk a mile in someone else's shoes, because by the time you're a mile away and you've got their shoes. I don't know. I don't know. It just jumped into my head. Okay. All right. Dun-dun-dun. Well, let's look at this. Xander is sleeping on this little table here. I wish you could see him. Oh, he's adorable. Just sleeping away there. Okay, the first slaves shipped to the American colonies in 16. Now, I did not know this, and it actually is very, very surprising to me. Had no idea. The first slaves shipped to the American colonies in 1619 were 100 white children from Ireland. Truth matters. The first slaves imported into the American colonies were 100 white children in 1619, 4 months before the arrival of the first shipment of black slaves. Many were brought from Ireland, where the law held that if there was no more sin to kill Many were brought from Ireland, where the law held that it was no more a sin to kill an Irishman than a dog or any other brute. King James II, followed by Charles I and Oliver Cromwell, sold over 500,000 Irish Catholics into slavery throughout the 1600s onto plantations in the West Indies, islands of Antigua, Montserrat, Jamaica, Barbados, as well as Virginia and New England. Irish slaves were less expensive than African and treated with more cruelty and death. Have you ever heard that? Because I haven't. I had no idea. No idea. But, so maybe if we're going to pay reparations to the blacks for slavery, then we need to pay reparations to the Irish as well. Because fair is fair. White slavery, history denied, covered up, and marginalized. No doubt. I'm not saying that to lessen what the blacks went through, because it was awful. Slavery's awful no matter what color you are, and it's not just blacks that have been made slaves. When you look at the world, there are still slaves in this world. Absolutely. Okay, so let's look at this. Now, this is Canadian, but it's still pertinent. Coronavirus contact tracing app to launch nationally in coming weeks. Trudeau. Yeah. By the way, just by the by, this is a different Trudeau. I know you're saying, are you nuts? Maybe. But I'll tell you, when there's a close-up of his teeth are all mangled. And Justin Trudeau has always had perfectly straight white teeth. Not anymore. I'm just saying, just throwing that out there. I'll try to find the picture somewhere. I do have the comparison, but I'm just throwing that out there. Anyway, yeah, contact tracing. Smartphone app developed with help from to help with CV contact tracing efforts will be launched nationally in the coming weeks, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced on Thursday. And Justin said the app will be tested in Ontario. Yeah, that's where I live. Will notify users if they've been exposed to COVID-19, and its use will be completely voluntary. Yeah, for now. I know how those things work. At no time will personal information be collected. Oh, no, they'd never do that. And shared, and no location services will be used. Oh, of course not. No, and they'd never lie. No. Just every time their mouth opens. The privacy of Canadian will be fully respected. Yeah. Like it has in the past. Sure. Prime Minister's update came as Canada's COVID-19 count surpassed 100,000 known cases, and about 4 weeks after he said the federal government was reviewing several smartphone apps and gearing up to recommend strongly a particular app. Recommend strongly. Yeah. Probably completely voluntary until it's not. Just throwing that out there. Okay, well, let's go back. I think that I may have gotten to everything or not. And I think that this falls into the or not category because there's more. Okay, Sarah Huckabee. Love that woman. She's awesome. Once all the statues are gone, the last remnant of the Confederacy will be the Democrat Party. Woo! Like, she's hot. I mean, I'm not saying she's hot as in she's hot. I'm saying, she's on fire. That's what I meant to say, because that's just brilliant. Like, that sentence is brilliant. Once all the statutes are gone, the last remnant of the Confederacy will be the Democrat Party. I'm still all embarrassed by saying, well, she's hot. I meant to say she's on fire because, I know that could be taken completely wrong. Okay, Chuck Calesto says, breaking now, Facebook deletes ads from Trump's re-election campaign for violating policy against organized hate. Is Facebook trying to swing an election? Well, of course they are. Yeah? Isn't that what they tried to do last time? Try, being the operative word, because, they never thought she would lose. But she did, because she can't even win a rigged election. Okay, now, this is fascinating. I did not know this, but please pass this along to your friends. Nancy Green was her real name. She was born into slavery. When free, she created this product and named it herself under contract with General Mills. She died one of America's first black millionaires. They just erased her wishes and legacy. Now, that needs to be spread. So, yeah, she was born into slavery, but she created Aunt Jemima, and she named it after herself, and she contracted with General Mills. She died one of America's first black millionaires. Isn't that awesome? Good for her. Good for her. And why would we want to erase her legacy? Why? And Uncle Ben's, see, I never knew this. He actually grew rice. This guy actually grew rice, and the rice was named after him. But let's take him off too. Let's put a white person on, because that'll make everything better. No, in this circumstances, putting a white person on there is racist, because both of these people are black and they deserve to be, this is her product. She deserves to be on the label. Hello, people. I didn't know this, but this changes everything. All right, and last but not least is Mini AOC. I love this. Why are they canceling Aunt Jemima? Did President Trump pour it on his pancakes? You know, there's so much truth in that because it's true. And if President Trump was seen with Aunt Jemima, you know, that would be it. The product would have to be pulled off the shelf because everyone would boycott it. You know it's true. It's sad, but it's true. All right. Well, that's it for this evening, but I do have people to thank, and I'm going to do that. So, the following people donated via coffee. Xander's Best Virtual Buddy. I love that name. Xander's Best Virtual Buddy. And Xander says hello. Oh, he's so cute. Just adorable. I'm sorry. I guess I could turn it. If he's still there when I finish this, I will turn it so you can see him because he's just being so cute. He's just... All right. Xander's Best Virtual Buddy. And he perks up when he hears his name. I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce this right. Ramyana, maybe. But thank you. I butchered your name, but thank you. Sherry, Carolyn Rose, and then Sherry again. I'm going to have to check to see if that's the same person because, or maybe just two different people named Sherry, but could be the same person. Thank you, Sherry and Sherry. And Space Chick 7, I like that name too, Space Chick 7. And Rob of Clan Lennox. That's a cool name too, Rob of Clan Lennox. Ursa Bruin, Elizabeth Bennett, Tina Stogner, Karina, and Linda House. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate that, especially during this time. People, donations and so forth have been very, very down because, of course, everybody's going through this and money is tight for so many, and I totally understand that. Now, picked up a new Patreon subscriber, Rebecca Rawls. Welcome, Rebecca. Thank you so much for your support. And I got something in the mail, snail mail, from Kathy M. from Virginia. Thank you so much. She sent me a lovely handmade card. It was beautiful. And a little note in there. Thank you so much. And, oh, there's something here. Oh, no, we already covered that. Never mind. Okay, so that is everything. Thank you guys so much. And those, I may not mention everybody, but those that support me on Patreon and buy me the odd coffee. Oh, there, Xander's got down. Maybe next time. Anyway, I appreciate you all so much. Now, I do have another video tonight, but I don't know if I'm going to make it through it. I may try to push through it and get through the Q video from yesterday because I do want to get that kind of cleaned off the slate so we can start new tomorrow because we're going to have another Q video tomorrow and there'll always be more news. So let me get this uploaded and see if I possibly can. I will. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. You guys stay safe, stay well, and keep seeking truth because, well, as you know, deception bites.